Tonight, the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Good evening, sir. And I want to start first with Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida, took to the House floor today. He said that you have some sort of side deal or secret deal with President Biden over Ukraine funding. Is that at all? Is that true?
No, that's not true at all. There is no side deal with President Biden. I haven't spoken to President Biden in months from that, so I'm not quite sure what Matt speaks of.
In terms of the continuing resolution, just to have this straight, is that basically nothing changes. There's no increased spending. There's no cost cut. There's just nothing. It's on hold till November 17th while the House works this out. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And you got to understand, why did we do that? Every year, the House and the Senate is supposed to pass 12 appropriation bills. Unfortunately, the Senate has not passed one. We have passed 74% of all the discretionary spending we're supposed to pass. So if you shut down, you don't pay the troops, you don't pay the border agents. What it does is it allows you to continue to do your job. Now, this is not what I wanted to do. I had on the floor the day before a continuing resolution that had border security, secure the border, and actually cut spending by 8%. But unfortunately, I didn't get 218 votes for it. Matt Gaetz voted against that. So I had no other option than shut down the government and not pay the troops or continue to work, and that's exactly what we're doing. I called all the House back in, and we're continuing passing 2 more appropriation bills this week as we continue to work to finish America's job.
What's going on between you and Congressman Matt Gaetz? I mean, is it an ideological thing? You just have different ideas on how the government should be funded or not funded or policies, or is there something personal going on?
No, I believe it's personal. It's something Matt's been concerned about. Remember, he never supported me for Speaker. It's not conservative because he voted against the conservative continuing resolution. Look, I'm a conservative that believes we should show how we can get things done in a conservative manner. If my continuing resolution had passed that the majority of the conference voted for, we would have secured our border, we would have cut spending, and we'd be in a stronger position. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. With Matt, there's a couple different things. I mean, I know he has an ethics complaint that got put in the last Congress. I can't get involved in ethics complaints. I know that's made him upset. He said text other members about that, trying to blame me. I have nothing to do with it. I just think we should focus on the job we're supposed to be. Making a motion to vacate doesn't help us in the process. It turns the House over to the Democrats. The only way that could win if all the Democrats voted for it and a handful of Republicans. I don't think that's right. I think we should follow what the majority of Republicans want to do, and let's get our work and get it done.
You know, one of the issues that obviously is divided even within your own party is this whole issue of funding for Ukraine. And I'm trying to figure out is that, obviously we've got a situation where it's expensive. On the other hand, we have a growing debt. But then I go back to thinking that if we don't do some sort of funding for Ukraine, what message does that send President Putin of Russia, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, President Xi of China? I mean, it's a much deeper problem than just money. Is there any sort of discussion about that within the House?
There's a lot of discussion about that, and part of the concern is, what is the mission? What is the direction to make sure we win, and where is the accountability? It's not like we should send money to Ukraine. We can send weapons to Ukraine to let them defend themselves, but it is a question you have to think of long term. What message would that send to China when it comes to Taiwan? What are these other messages? But the one thing I would tell you, there's no Americans dying in Ukraine, but there are Americans dying on our southern border. There are Americans dying across our country because of what's happening on that southern border, and we need to prioritize our southern border. And that's exactly what I believe we should do, and that's what I've told the president.
Well, the president said on Saturday, and this I think is sort of some of the confusion, that he fully expects the Speaker, that of course would be you, will keep your commitment to the people of Ukraine. Do you have any idea what that means? I think he meant there would be a supplemental spending bill.
Oh. Well, what he means is I have supported the arming Ukraine, and I will keep that, continue to arm Ukraine. I'm not changing that position because I believe it's important. We had spent trillions of dollars trying to fight the Soviet Union and Russia. They are losing in this battle. You need to stand up for where we are. And I don't I don't change that position at all, but I do believe the southern border matters, and we should be able to control our southern border as well.
Yeah, the Congresswoman Presley, obviously she's a Democrat, not a Republican. She said the other day, and she's pushed a couple times about it, she said that the border is secure. And of course, we keep rolling video over and over and over across all the networks. You know, the border isn't secure. So, I mean, tell me, what is the resistance within the Democratic Party? Because I know you must talk to their leaders to doing something about that border. They even have a Democratic mayor of New York who's all upset about it. But so, what's the problem?
Well, I think they just don't admit how they screwed up so poorly. I mean, more than 250,000 people just in the last month. It's the worst it's ever been. The equivalent of an airliner is crashing every day in America by the number of people who are dying from fentanyl. We've got our border agents being beat up. We got people coming from 160 different countries. We caught more people on the terrorist watch list coming across our border in February than we caught the entire time during the Trump administration. But this is what's really, it's not just Republicans saying this. The governor of the state of Massachusetts has declared a state of emergency. The governor of New York tells people to go somewhere else. The mayor of New York said it's destroying one of the most beautiful cities in America, the New York City. And we've watched time and again where the border is now the #1 issue of every city in America. Every city's become a border city. And we can solve this problem. First, finish the wall. The parts that weren't finished, we've got the material there, but they won't let it go up. Have the Remain in Mexico policy, the Title 42, and change the asylum to actually work for the right ways. And then you got to end the fentanyl from coming across. Those 5 things will secure our border, make our country stronger, and actually save these cities and American lives.
I think, though, that the first step, which you didn't mention, is you have to admit there's a problem. You know, and I mean, maybe the mayor, maybe the governor of Massachusetts and the mayor of New York, but what is Hakeem Jeffries, who's your counterpart in the House? I mean, and you've got Congresswoman Presley. I mean, I'm sure she doesn't speak for everybody by saying the border's not secure, but I mean, you know, there seems to be an aversion to hit this thing head on, whether for national security reasons or for humanitarian reasons or for whatever your reason is. When you talk to Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, what does he say to you?
Well, I'll tell you, I do have a number of Democrats come to me and actually tell me, keep fighting for the border because it's a very big issue. But you have to think about this. President Biden has been in office for more than 50 years. And you know what's interesting? He's only been to the border one time. He has been to more dinners with Hunter Biden's former business partners than he has to the border. And that is what's causing the major problem. It wasn't some legislation that got changed. It was simply administration change that continues to change the policies at the border where now it's wide open. And we could reform that. And I'm going to tell you, I do believe there's Democrats out there that are now at a tipping point because they're hearing so much pressure from their own mayors, from their own communities, even though they're hundreds or thousands of miles away from the border. In New York City, it's become the #1 issue.
Tell me how, I mean, with Congressman Matt Gaetz seeking to oust you, at least that's what he says he's going to do, a motion to vacate, and the fact that you're coming up on an election in November of 2024 and you've got such a narrow margin in the House of Representatives, are you worried that sort of what looks to be a very strong division within your party with such a narrow margin that you're going to lose the House, or can you work with Matt Gaetz?
I can work with anybody. I mean, I try to all the way across. And remember this, I've been leader for 4.5 years or 5 years now. We've gone through 2 election cycles and we've only won. But we've been the only Republican entity to win, while all the others, the senators, have lost both cycles. And we're able to continue to build on that majority. Remember this, we even won 5 new seats in California and 5 more in New York. We're winning across this country, from Arizona, from Oregon, and others. We're expanding the party in different places. That's why I like to be the person that can unite within this party. Take those conservative positions, show you can govern, and show you can make the streets safe. You can let people keep more of what they earn. You can have parents have a say in their kids' education by how we pass the Parents' Bill of Rights. You can lower the energy costs, and that's where you make America energy independent. You secure the border. There is so much to do while at the same time making government accountable and holding them accountable.
Speaker Kevin McCarthy, thank you, sir. And, of course, we watch to see what happens November 17th. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greta.